All right, this is a Kess Dissident Mage cEDH deck tech. Kess is definitely one of the better cEDH commanders in my opinion, and this deck list is in my opinion, one of the better lists in general. Obviously, there could be some fine tuning, but just in general, Kess is absolutely ridiculous. So Kess is a 1 in Grixis commander. It's a 3/4 flying. During each of your turns, you may cast an instant or a sorcery card from your graveyard. If a card would be cast this way, it gets exiled instead. So if you cast it from your graveyard instead of going back to your graveyard, it gets exiled. But you basically get to double cast all of your instants and sorceries. So first up, we're gonna start with the artifacts. So first up, we got Lotus Petal. So 0 for a artifact. Tap, sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color. You know, just a mana ramp for free. Next, we got Mana Crypt. So 0. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 3 damage to you. Tap it, add 2. So it's just a free Soul Ring that hurts you. Don't really care about our life total, so it's not a big deal. Next, we got Mox Opal. 0 for an artifact. Metalcraft. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color, only if you control 3 or more artifacts. Next, we got Lion's Eye Diamond. So for 0, you get a artifact. Sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond. Discard your hand. Add 3 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source. So essentially, if you have a lot of things that you can abuse, you can just discard your hand and recast them with the 3 mana you get. So you can essentially, when you play this card, you can kind of, when you sacrifice it, you're usually going to win the game next turn or during that phase. Excuse me. Next, we got Sensei's Divining Top. So for 1, you get an artifact. Pay 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. Tap it, draw a card, put this card on top. There's a couple combos with this, but just another way to filter and get what you need. Next, we got Mana Vault. So, sorry, it's blurry. So for 1, tap it, add 3 colors to your mana pool. It doesn't untap during your untap phase. To untap it, you must pay 4 mana during your upkeep. If it is tapped, it deals 1 damage to you. So each turn that it stays tapped, you take a damage. Otherwise, you get to add 3. Next, we got Soul Ring. Obviously, everyone knows Soul Ring. We got Dimir Signet. Just a little color fixing, a little bit of ramp. So we got Is It Signet. Then we got Isochron Scepter. This is another win condition in this deck. If you get enough artifacts out, or you basically just get infinite mana. So for 2, you get an artifact with imprint. When it enters the battlefield, exile an instant or sorcery card. Convert a mana cost 2 or less from your hand. Pay 2, tap it. You may copy it. If you do, you can pay it without paying its mana cost. So you just get to you pay 2 to keep casting something over and over. Usually this is going to be paired with Dramatic Reversal. So you just untap all your artifacts and keep netting mana. Next we got Arcane Signet, just another mana ramp, rock. We got Rakdos Signet. And then lastly, we have Bolas's Citadel. So this is going to combo off with Sensei's Divining Top, because you get to keep, putting Sensei's on top, keep digging, put whatever you need on top to cast with this, and then draw a card when you can't. Like play it like a land or something, put Sensei's back on top, pay a life to get it back out. You just keep digging through your deck. Next, we got the creatures. So first up, we got Dockside Extortionist. This is one of the best red cards in cEDH or EDH in general. It really shines in cEDH because everyone's playing a bunch of cheap mana rocks and Mana Crypt, whatever. So when you play him, you usually get like 5 to 7 treasures from him. Next, we got Thieving Skydiver. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This card's extremely underrated. For 1 and a blue, you get a Flying with Kicker. X can't be 0 when it enters the battlefield. If it was kick, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to it. So for 3 mana, we get a 2/1 flying, and we get to steal a Soul Ring or Mana Crypt or Mana Vault or whatever you need. So for 3 mana, you get a body and you get to steal something. So not only are we going up like resource-wise, but we're taking a resource away for 3 mana, essentially. Next, we got Dark Confidant. For 1 and a black, you get a 2/1 at the beginning of your upkeep. Reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana cost. Everything in this deck, for the most part, is 2 or less, so we don't really care. There are a couple exceptions, but for the most part, we're just gonna be getting shocked or pinged, or it just helps us draw a land and then draw something else off of him, so it's free. Next, we got a win condition. We have Thassa's Oracle. So double blue, you get a 1/3 Merfolk. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put one of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So obviously, we're playing cEDH. This is one of our win conditions. We're just going to get rid of our deck and then Thassa's Oracle to win. Next, we have Snapcaster Mage. This just helps us recast, you know, if we have a creature or something, or not a creature, instant or sorcery we need again, 2 mana, we get a body, and we get to redo whatever we want to do. So 1 in a blue for 2/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until the end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. So Snap is very good. Next, we have Hull Breacher. So 2 in a blue, you get a 3/2 flash. If an opponent were to draw a card except for the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, instead, you create a treasure token. So we have a lot of wheels in this deck that we can abuse with Kess. And essentially, if we can flash out Hull Breacher and then wheel, that's usually game over because no one has any cards in their hand. We have a ton of treasure, and we have a whole handful of cards. Next, we got Opposition Agent. So for 2 in a black, you get a 3/2 with flash. Your opponents can't search you control your opponents while they search their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. You may spend mana as though it were any color to cast them. So essentially, because we control them, we get to pick what they exile, and we get to play that card. Opposition Agent is very, very good. If someone tries to fetch land, you get to get their land, or if they demonic tutor or whatever, you get to flash it in and hose them. Next up, we got Spellseeker. For 2 in a blue, you get a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you get to look for an instant or sorcery card converted mana cost 2 or less. This is usually going to get us demonic consultation or something along those lines, so we can kind of close out the game. Next up, we're going to go to the enchantments. So first up, we got Underworld Breach. This is probably arguably one of the best cards in this deck. For 1 in a red, you get an enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana value or mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this. So essentially, this is like a Snapcaster Mage on steroids. Because we're gonna fill our graveyard with a bunch of stuff with casts from like wheels or discarding cards and drawing cards or whatever. And we just get to replay all of them just by exiling other things. And it doesn't have to be, it's just non-land, so it's whatever we want. Yeah, this card is absolutely insane. The last enchantment we run is Rhystic Study. Everyone's most favorite annoying enchantment. 2 in a blue, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. So obviously, we all know why it's in here. It's very annoying, but it's too good not to be in here. So next, we're going to go to our instance. So first up, we got Pact to Negation. So for 0, counter target spell at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 5. If you don't, you lose the game. So this just helps us, like if we draw our whole deck, we have like a couple interaction spells to counter whatever they're trying to do to stop us to win. Next up, we got Chain of Vapor. For 1 blue, it's an instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that permanent's controller may sacrifice a land. If the player does, he or she may copy this. If they sacrifice the land, we're just getting even more value. So essentially, it's just like you pay a blue, return something, and blow up a land. But this card's very, very strong. Next up, we got Vampiric Tutor. 1 blue, or not 1 blue. 1 black. Search your library for a card, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. You lose 2 life. Obviously, this is one of the best tutors in the game, if not the best tutor in the game. Yeah. Next we got demonic or dark ritual. Sorry, not demonic. Dark ritual. 1 black for an instant. Add 3 black. Helps us ramp a little bit. And obviously with Kess we can flash that back. Next we got red elemental blast. This card's very situational, but it's very good in cEDH because more than one player usually are playing blue that we're playing against. So for 1 red, you get to counter target blue spell or destroy a blue permanent. So Ristic Study or anything that they're trying to do, it's just 1 red. Get rid of it. Next, we got Mental Misstep. So for a Phyrexian, you get to counter target spell with converted mana cost 1. Sounds very situational, but this card's actually very, very strong. In cEDH, a majority of the spells everyone's playing are going to be 2 or less, maybe 3. So very good. Next, we got Flusterstorm. For 1 blue, counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1 with Storm. This is very good, especially in counter wars when people keep casting stuff and then someone plays something and starts countering it. When you play this, you're going to usually get about 7 to 8 copies, and then you can target whatever you want. So you can counter the whole stack or really make sure that one thing doesn't go off. Next, we got Swan Song. So for 1 blue, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird with flying. We really don't care about the flyer. We're just countering a spell. So essentially, if they're paying like 4 or 5 mana for whatever they're trying to do, and you pay 1 blue, they just paid 4 or 5 mana for a 2/2 flyer. That does nothing. So this card's very good. Next, we got Mystical Tutor. For 1 blue, you get to search your library for an instant, interrupt, mana source, or a sorcery card. Reveal that card to all players. Shuffle your library and put that card on top. This card's very, very good. Helps us look for demonic consultation or counterspell or whatever we got to do. Next, we got Brainstorm. So for 1 blue, you get to draw 3, put 2 cards from your hand back on top. Just very, very strong. Next, we got Demonic Consultation. For 1 black, you get to name a card. You keep revealing until you hit the named card. If you don't, or for each card you reveal, if it's not that card, you exile it. So essentially, we're just going to play this card, name something not in our deck, and then get rid of our whole deck with Thassa's Oracle in the stack. So very good. Next, we got Abrade. So deals 3 damage to target creature, or you can destroy an artifact. It's just got some versatility. And of course, with all of these spells I'm saying, we get to cast it back with Kess, so just get even more value. Next, we got Remand. So for 1 and a blue, you get an instant. Counter target spell. If that spell's countered this way, put it into its owner's hand instead of into that player's graveyard. Then you get to draw a card. This card, it might get taken out pretty soon, but it's been working pretty well, so it's working. Next, we got Cyclonic Rift, an obvious staple. 1 and a blue, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, and then for 7, you get to overload it, so all of everyone's everything goes back to their hands. Just an obvious includes, very good. Next, we got Daze. This is kind of, in a way, it's like a free counterspell, potentially. 1 and a blue, you may return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than pay Daze's mana cost. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. It doesn't seem very good, but there are a lot of situations where people don't have that 1, and then you can just either return an island if you want to pay it for, or if you don't have the mana open, or if you do have it open, then you can just make them pay 1 and they can't. Next up, we got Unsubstantiate. For 1 and a blue, return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. This is kind of helpful because a lot of people combo off with their commanders, so with whatever it is on the stack, you just bounce their person back to their hand, or you can return a spell back to slow them down. Just a pretty good card. I haven't really seen many people using this card, but it's just a little different. Next, we got Plunge into Darkness. So for 1 and a black, you get an instant. Choose 1, sacrifice any number of creatures. Then you gain 3 life for each sacrificed creature. Or pay X life, then look at the top X cards of your library, put 1 of those cards into your hand, remove the rest from the game, or you can entwine it for 1 black, so you get both. We are almost never going to do the first half. It's really just like a pseudo demonic consultation or a ad nauseum, because we're just going to keep digging and digging and digging until we can find the card we need to win. But this card's very, very strong. Next, we got Tainted Pact. So Tainted Pact's an instant. You get to essentially, you're going to deck yourself again. It's just like Demonic Consultation. We're just going to deck ourselves, and then we're going to have a Thassa's Oracle on the stack. Or, there are situations where I have named a card that I specifically do need, and I just keep going until I hit that card. But with Kess, there's actually a really cool thing you can do that you can't really do with any other cEDH commander. So with a Tainted Pact or a Demonic Consultation, if we don't have Thassa's Oracle, we can name Thassa's Oracle, exile everything until we get it. Then once we get it in our hand, if Kess is out, we play Thassa's Oracle, and because she says that we can, during each of our turns, you can cast something, with it on the stack, we cast it again, and we just win from there. So essentially, when you have Kess out, if this is out, or if this is in your hand or in your graveyard, or not in your graveyard, if it's in your hand or Demonic Consultation's in your hand, it's just a free win. Like you will win if no one can interact with you. So that's just a cool little thing. Because usually with other cEDH decks, you have to have both of the pieces together, but with this one, you just need that one. So yeah. Next, we got Mana Leak. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. cEDH is a pretty fast format. Everyone's trying to win super, super fast, and paying the extra 3 for something can either slow them down or it straight up counters their stuff. Next, we got Narset's Reversal for double blue. You can instant copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets with the copy. So this is just another really cool way. Like if someone time warps or something, we get to copy it, bounce theirs back to our hand. We get the extra turn, or someone overloads Cyclonic Rift. We'll copy it, but we don't get the overload, I don't think, but. It's just really cool things like that. You get to copy their thing, send it back to their hand. Next, we got Mana Drain. For double blue, counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Add that amount of colorless mana equal to the spell's converted mana cost. Just another very good. It's just a strictly better counter spell. Next, we have Dramatic Reversal. It's an instant untap all non-land permanents you control. So this on Isochron Scepter, we just get to, if we have a bunch of mana rocks out, all of them untap, we float them, cast this again, we'll net like a mana or 2 or something, and then have infinite mana. Next, we got Arcane Denial for 1 and a blue. Counter target spell. That spell's caster may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, and then you get to draw a card. So a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't think Arcane Denial is that great. They don't like giving them 2 cards for this, but usually when we're countering something, it's well worth the counter. So instead of them just straight up winning or something, they just get to draw 2 and we get to draw 1. So it replaces itself and you're stopping them from winning. So I personally think Arcane Denial is a very strong card, but some people disagree. Next, we got Impulse. So for 1 and a blue, an instant, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest of them into the bottom of your library in any order. Just helps us dig, and it's 4 instead of 3. Like most of these are usually 3, and this one's 4, which is actually relevant. Next, we got Deflecting Swat. If you control your commander, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. Choose new targets for target spell or ability. So if it's our turn and someone tries to kill Kess for whatever reason, just Deflecting Swat for free if this is in the graveyard. Or we can do it once, and then if it resolves and someone does it again, you just cast it again for free. Yeah, very strong. Next, we got Force of Negation. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Force of Will's little brother is very, very good. Next, we got Fierce Guardianship. So if you control your commander, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. This card is absolutely nuts with Kess out. Just a free counter spell. Or, 4 non-creatures, but we're playing cEDH, so there's not many creatures that are going to be played. Mystic Dispute. So 2 and a blue. Costs 2 less to cast if you're targeting a blue spell, which a majority of the stuff will be blue. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Like a better mana leak if it's against something blue. Next, we got Ad Nauseam. This is another way how we win. We just keep digging and digging and digging. Most of the stuff in this deck does not cost a lot mana-wise, so we're not going to be hurting ourselves very much for the amount of cards we're going to be getting. So you just keep going until you get what you need, and then you just win from there. Next and lastly, we have Force of Will. So for 3 and 2 blue, you can pay a life and remove a blue card from your hand from the game instead of paying Force of Will's mana cost. Effects that prevent or redirect the damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. Counter target spell. So essentially, instead of force of negation where it has to be not on your turn, you can do this whenever you want. So when we draw our whole deck, we'll essentially have like at least 2 free counter spells with this impact and negation to like help us protect our combo or whatever we're doing to win. Next up, we're gonna go to the sorcery. So I'm gonna get rid of some of these because get back there. It's kind of helping the camera focus a little bit for it being a stack this high. So I'm learning. Next up, we got Reanimate for 1 black. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Lose life equal to its converted mana cost. This card's actually won me plenty of games. Someone has a Fast Oracle in the graveyard, you can just reanimate it with it on the stack, play something. Or if there's another creature that does really crazy things, you can just get it back for 1 black, which really, 1 black and loss of life for a creature for free essentially is very, very strong. Next, we got Ponder. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put them back in any order. You may shuffle your library, draw a card. Just a standard card. Next, we got Faithless Looting. So for 1 red, you get to draw 2, discard 2, and it's got flashback for 2 in a red. This card's absolutely insane with Kess. We're fueling our graveyard. We can cast it back for 1 instead of 3 if Kess is out. Everything we're pitching is going to be relevant because we can play it with Kess, so it's just pure value. Next, we got Vandal Blast. So for 1 black, or 1 black, for 1 red, destroy target artifact you don't control, and then 5 you can overload it. We're playing cEDH, so there's a ton of artifacts. Pay 5, it's really devastating if you can get to that and just blow up everyone's artifacts, except for yours. Next, we got Preordain. For 1 blue, you get a sorcery that says Scry 2, draw a card, flash it back with Kess whenever you want. So all these cards are just strictly better than face value. Next, we got Imperial Seal. For 1 black. Search your library for any 1 card, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it, and you lose 2 life. So it's a sorcery vampiric tutor, so it's very good. Next up, we got See the Truth. This card is not played in many decks other than Kess, and you're about to find out why. So for 1 and a blue, you get a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. If this spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put each of those cards into your hand instead. So obviously, in decks that can't really utilize this in the graveyard, it's not that great. So you get to look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand. It's an Anticipate. But because we have Kess and we can cast this from our graveyard, it's a 1 and a blue, draw 3 cards. This card's absolutely insane with Kess, but outside of Kess, it's not that great. Next, we got Demonic Tutor. So for 1 and a black, search your library for a card, put it in your hand. One of the best tutors in the game, if not the best. Next, we got Jessica's Will. 2 and a red. Choose 1 if you control a commander. You can cast both. Add a red for each card in target opponent's hand. Or exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. This card's very, very good. Still not sure why it's not worth more, but this card's absolutely nuts. Someone has 7 cards in their hand, you get 7 red. Go crazy with that mana. Play it again with Kess. Just nuts. Next, we got Yawgmoth's Will. For 2 and a black, you get a sorcery. Until the end of turn, you may play cards in your graveyard as though they were in your hand. Cards put into your graveyard this turn are removed from the game instead. So your hand is now your graveyard and your hand, which, I mean, for the most part, it's kind of what Kess does, like a little bit. You can only cast 1, but this card is just like Underworld Breach. You just get all that shit back, and you can just play it and kill people. Play this card, usually you're winning the game immediately, so yeah. Next, we got Windfall. For 2 and a blue. Each player discards their hand and draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. This with any sort of punishment for drawing. It's very strong. Also for digging, we have Kess, so we can just replay it. Next, we got Wheel of Fortune. All players must discard their hands and draw 7 new cards. Same thing, just another wheel. Next, we got Toxic Deluge. This helps us if someone's playing some sort of creature-based like farm deck where they're hitting you a bunch with stuff, or if it's like a blood pod with a bunch of creatures, you just pay like 4 life and wipe all the creatures. So it's very good. Next, we got Dark Petition for 3 and double black. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, and shuffle your library. Spell Mastery. If there are 2 or more instants or sorcery cards in your graveyard, add 3 black to your mana pool. So essentially, this is going to be a 2-drop because, I mean, you have to have 5, but we are always going to have Spell Mastery because a majority of our deck is instants and sorceries. So you're going to pay 5, but you're going to get 3 black back. And then we can replay it again. So the card's very strong. Then lastly, in the sorcery department, we got Echo of Eons. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their libraries and draws 7 cards. Flashback for 2 and a blue. This card's very good. Again, we have lots of ways to refill hands, make it to where people don't get to draw. And yeah, it's just a very good card. All right. Now we're going to get into the land department. So first up, we got Strip Mine. Strip Mine, tap to add a colorless, or tap, sack it, destroy target land. Helps us get rid of like Guy's Cradle or any other utility lands that people are benefiting from. Next, we got Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, legendary land. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other types, so this just helps us mana fix and help us with black. Next, we got Gemstone Mine. Gemstone Mine comes into play with 3 mining counters on it. Tap, remove a mining counter, add 1 mana of any color. If there are no mining counters left on it, sack it. So this just helps us. It's like a City of Brass for free for 3 turns, essentially. Next, we got Exotic Orchard. Tap, add 1 mana of any color that a land your opponent's controls could produce. So there's going to be black, there's going to be blue. Those are arguably 2 of the best colors. Red's usually a little wonky with this card, but blue and black, you're usually going to get it no matter what. Next, we got Cavernous Souls. This is usually for, you know, our win con, so we'll name Merfolk, so they can't counter it. Yeah, Cavernous Souls, you choose a creature type, it adds a generic in general, or you can add a mana of any color towards that creature type, and it can't be countered, so very strong. Next, we got Command Tower, so tap, add a mana of whatever your commander's color identity is, so Grixis. Next, we got Mana Confluence. Tap, pay a life, add 1 mana of any color. We don't care about our life total for the most part. I mean, we do because of like ad nauseum and stuff, but I mean, it's definitely going to be well worth it. Next, we got Training Center. So if you have 2 or more opponents, it comes out untapped, so it's essentially a dual land in multiplayer. Add a red or a blue. Auto include. Next, we got Spiral Bluff Canal. It's a fast land, so if you have 2 or fewer other lands, it comes out untapped, red or blue. Next, we got a check land, so Drowned Catacomb. If you control an island or a swamp, it comes out untapped, adds a blue or black. Next, we got Fiery Islet. So tap, pay a life, add a red or a blue, so it's a pain land, mana fixer, but you also get the second half, which is relevant. So pay 1, tap, sack, draw a card. So if we have a lot of land and we're just trying to dig or something, just draw the card, can win. Next, we got Clearwater Pathway. It's a flip land, so you can either pick blue or black. Got the next flip land, red or black. We got the next flip land, which is the River Glide Pathway for red and blue. Now we got our shock land. So first up, we got Blood Crypt. So pay 2 if you want to come out untapped, as red or blue. Next, we got Watery Grave. Next, we got Steam Vents. Now we're going to go to the fetch lands. So first up, Polluted Delta. Tap, sack, look for a swamp or an island. It's got Arid Mesa. This lets us get a mountain of any kind we need. Next, we got Verdant Catacombs. Next, we got Marsh Flats. Next, we got Flooded Strand. We got Scalding Tarn. We got Bloodstained Mire. And lastly, we have Prismatic Vista. This card's very strong. You get to look for a basic land. And speaking of basic lands, we're in the basic lands. So next we got, for the basics, we got 1 swamp, 2 islands, and 1 mountain. So, ooh, I left these out, actually. That is not it. Next we got our Planeswalkers, Narset Parter Veils for 1 and 2 blue. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. -2, look at the top 4, get a non-creature, non-land card from them, put it into your hand. This with wheels, you know, destroys everyone. And then we got Ashiok Dreamrender for 1 and double hybrid blue black. Opponents can't search your libraries. -1. You pick an opponent, they mill 4, and then exile everyone's graveyard but yours, so it hoses any sort of graveyard-based deck. Didn't see those guys till just now, so sorry about that. But yeah, so that's Kess Dissident Mage. She's absolutely insane. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the best cEDH commanders that there are available right now. And yeah, so if you guys have any comments or any things you would like to see next, or if if there's something you didn't understand why it was in here, or if you have suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I also have I have another cEDH deck, Tassiger. So if you've seen this and haven't seen that, maybe you could swing over there and give me some input on that as well. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and see you next time.